The Falcons have added 2 defensive coaches to their coaching roster, so we're going to break down both these hires, tell you everything you need to know about the latest move by Raheem Morris. But before we get into that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Anytime that news breaks, we're going to get you guys the latest on the Dirty Birds, and you will be the first to know of all your Falcons friends because you are subscribed to Falcons Today. So go ahead and click that subscribe button. Let's get ourselves to 32,500 subscribers. Plus, for the second half of today's episode, we've got a little surprise I think you might enjoy. But now, let's turn our attention to the 2 coaching hires, starting with the latest on Mike Rutenberg, who is hired to be the new linebackers coach. He was the Jets linebackers coach under Jeff Ulbrich, who was the DC over in New York under Robert Saleh, the head coach. He is going into his 16th season as a coach between college football and the NFL. He's hopped around a little bit. I think if you look at his resume, it checks out to me. I think it's a fair resume and good qualifications to be the Falcons linebackers coach. I think we are getting a little tired, though, of it just being a friend's hire, right? Where Raheem Morris fires Jimmy Lake, and 1 week later, he hires someone he used to work with. Didn't really seem to push the boundaries a little bit, step out of his comfort zone. That ultimately led to Jimmy Lake getting fired. And 1 week later, he is kind of repeating the same process, which is, I'm going to hire people that I know. Maybe not hiring the best candidate, but people that I've got some relationships with. I went to John Taffer's bar in Alpharetta yesterday. What is today? Friday? On Thursday. And there's a great saying from John Taffer on Bar Rescue, which is, don't open a bar with your friend. I think Raheem Morris should learn a little bit about that. Maybe don't just hire all your friends and then hire all their friends. Maybe go out and seek the best candidate possible. So there's the latest. I'm not trying to ruin that guy's day, the new linebackers coach, but I just think, it's getting a little redundant. So hopefully it works out well. He did do a good job with the linebackers in New York as well. So maybe it's just great hire, best candidate, and coincidentally, a friend. Now, Nate Ollie, he was hired to be the new defensive line coach. This is a hire that I'm a little bit more upbeat about because he's got a good track record, and it doesn't appear to be, I'm hiring someone that's my friend, because he was with the Texans this past season. Before that, he was with the Indianapolis Colts as their defensive line coach. And if you look at the last 3 seasons as either the defensive line coach or the assistant defensive line coach, check out the sacks that the Texans and the Colts have produced. So this past season, Ollie with Houston, they finished 4th in total sacks as a team. With the Colts in 2023, 5th. In 2022, 10th. So I'm not exactly sure what led to him getting fired by Indianapolis in 2023, but that's kind of just the belly of the beast. If you work in the NFL, there's constant turnover amongst rosters and coaching rosters. But this is a hire that I'm a lot more excited about because he's got a really good track record with 3 straight teams or 3 straight years of being top 10 in sacks, essentially, especially the last 2 seasons with the Colts and the Texans. And those aren't defenses that have Pro Bowl defensive player of the year guys on their front 7. There's no Myles Garrett or TJ Watt in Houston or Indianapolis. So if Ollie can take this Falcons defense and turn it into a top 10 defense in sacks, build the statue. You want to be a coordinator or a coach that gets on the right hot track to be a coordinator soon? Take over the Atlanta Falcons defensive line and make them one of the best pass rushing units in football, and you will get some buzz from other teams about being a defensive coordinator. So this hire right here, I'm a lot more upbeat about, and I think it has some real potential to pay off in the long run for the Dirty Birds. Speaking of coaching moves, this happened as well today. The Texans are moving on from Bobby Slowik, their offensive coordinator, who just a year ago, almost to the day, 51 weeks ago, he was interviewing for the Falcons head coaching job. He got 2 interviews. He got a second in-person interview, right? They interviewed Slowik in the morning and Raheem Morris in the afternoon, if I remember correctly. They were very impressed by Bobby Slowik. So I wouldn't say the Falcons dodged a bullet because between you and me, I think Bobby Slowik is kind of being thrown under the bus because when he was hired in Houston to be their OC, he wanted to do a fullback style offense. And then after 1 season, they decided no more the fullback. We're going to do 3 wide receiver sets. And then Nico Collins misses time. Tank Dell goes down for the rest of the season, along with Stephon Diggs. So at one point, he had all 3 wide receivers on injured reserve, and surprise, surprise, the offense isn't clicking as well, so they decide to fire him. I don't think that was a great move by Houston, to be honest. I think he's going to get another job and land on his feet. But if you're wondering what could have been, they could have hired Bobby Slowik, and, well, who knows what would have happened next. Now, you're going to enjoy the second half of today's episode, so don't go anywhere. But first, a quick shout-out to our sponsor today, which is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players. Now, PrizePicks does a ton of fun promotions and whatnot throughout the year, including putting Jaden Daniels' passing yards at 0.5. They're just giving you the more on this. So take the more, pair with one more, and you are good to go. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Once again, download the PrizePicks app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. So I wanted to spend the second half of today's video talking about a draft target that, not that I'm in love with, but just a name to put on your radar, because I didn't think you'd want to spend 10 minutes talking about the linebackers coach and Ollie. No offense to those guys. So what about Trey Amos, the Ole Miss corner? Just give me 4 or 5 minutes to fill you in on not just him as a player, but also the position overall as a need for Atlanta. One, he's 6'1", 190 pounds, so he fills out nicely for a corner. He's got good lengthy range, and that's a big difference maker for corners, especially for NFL GMs and scouts when evaluating DBs. He's been around the block, like majority of college football players this day and age. Started at Louisiana, went to Alabama, went to Ole Miss. But this past season with the Rebels was his best year by far. He had 50 tackles, 3 interceptions, 16 pass breakups. He was a part of a very good Ole Miss defense that Ole Miss fans will always wonder, how did we lose to Florida and miss our chance at the college football playoff with that defense and Jackson Dart at quarterback? But overall, whether it's Amos or someone else, Atlanta needs to replenish at the cornerback position. I think corner is a top 4 position in football. Number 1 is quarterback. Number 2 is edge rusher. And number 3, I would say, is offensive tackle, like left tackle. But you can substitute with wide receiver. And if you like wide receiver at 3, you could go tackle at 4 and corner at 5. You can organize those last 3 based on your preference. But there's a reason why corner goes top 10 of the draft more often than offensive guard, linebacker, running back, safety. It's a cornerstone group. And Atlanta simply just needs to replenish there. Look at the corners drafted by the Dirty Birds since 2019. They went Clark Phillips in round 4, Darren Hall in round 4 2 years prior. Avery Williams, he was technically a corner. He's not a corner anymore. He was a 5th round pick. The last time they took a corner in rounds 1, 2, or 3 was in 2020 with A.J. Terrell. So I was curious, the Falcons the only team that hasn't taken a corner the last couple of years? Not exactly. They are one of 4 teams to not use a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round draft pick the first 2 days of the draft on a corner in the last 4 years, joining the Las Vegas Raiders, who suck, the Rams, who don't suck, but they've gotten away with not having to use a top pick on a corner for 2 reasons. They found some good corners in day 3 of the draft, so kudos to them. But also, they've got a very good pass rush, whether it was Aaron Donald or this past year, with a lot of really good up-and-coming young players like Byron Young from Tennessee, Jared Verse, rookie out of Florida State. We remember him from last year, and Braden Fisk, defensive tackle out of Florida State. So the lack of secondary has been made up by quarterbacks not having a ton of time to pick apart defenses, since the pass rush for the Rams gets to the quarterback so quickly. Same goes for the Buccaneers. They've had some older corners who kind of bridge the gap a little bit. Plus, they continue to invest in the front seven and get after the quarterback. So these two teams have gotten away with it, but I'm sure they are not loving the fact that they don't have a lot of young, homegrown talent at that cornerstone spot. But these two teams have no excuse because they don't have a pass rush that bails out their secondary. So I would like to see the Falcons attack corner in round 2 or round 3 at the, they don't have our third round pick. So round 2 at the latest. I just think it's too valuable of a position to go this long without utilizing one of your top picks at that spot. And you haven't really nailed any of the other corner picks in the last 5-6 years outside of A.J. Terrell. So please, Raheem, Terry, I know you're watching. Use that second round pick on a corner. Find a way to maybe trade back in the third. I don't know, but find a way. It has to be done. After pass rush, what do you guys think the Falcons' biggest need is? I would say corner. If you start thinking about what needs to be addressed for this team, the offense, sure, it might not be perfect, but it's far from the top of your laundry list of things to do. The defense specifically, pass rush, secondary. So address the pass rush in round 1, address the secondary in round 2, specifically cornerback. That will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate everyone for watching all the way to the end of the video. Hit that thumbs up button down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.